Josh Green here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by the host of the Voice of Boxing podcast and former Sky Sports commentator Mr. Adam Smith. Adam, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, Josh. Very good. Had a lively afternoon and evening with Mr. Usyk and Fury down at the Guildhall last night. And yeah, I'm good, thanks, actually. Yeah, got a busy couple of days ahead, heading to Manchester for Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis over the weekend. So yeah, keeping busy, keeping around the boxing world, and yeah, looking forward to seeing Carl Davis tomorrow, my fighter as well. So he's coming to the weigh-in. So yeah, on good form.
A really big occasion yesterday, it has to be said, as we head into the rematch on the 21st of December between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk. Very coy at the press conference, not a lot said yesterday. The few words that were said, or maybe a case of hearing that not much was said. What can you read into yesterday's interactions?
Yes, it was interesting, Josh. The sort of feel as we were going down there was that Tyson was going to do something. I've been next to him when he's come in as Batman. Been there when he's in between him and David Haye when all sorts was going on before their fight that never happened. So I'm very used to Tyson Fury's unpredictability and ways of playing the media and enjoying the sort of entertainment of the whole thing. But I just had a feeling as I went down to the Guildhall last night, which is such a wonderful building and such a fantastic place for a press conference, that Tyson wouldn't do that this time, that he'd be serious. I spent a bit of time with him at Box Park a few weeks ago, and he was telling everybody, he was playing up to the crowd, telling everybody he won the first fight. But I think deep down he knows he didn't. And I think he and Sugar Hill and Andy Lee know how serious a fight this is on December the 21st. And also having lost for the first time and being an underdog, which doesn't often happen in Tyson Fury's career. I think just as giving him a little, not a kick up the backside, but because he's an elite fighter, but just a reminder that at this level, everything has to be right. Yes, he had the cut, maybe sparring preparation wasn't quite as good, but there's no excuses. And yesterday was great to hear him say that he lost the fight and he intends to put it right this time. And I think that's exactly the Tyson Fury I wanted to see yesterday. I had some time with him afterwards, and he knows his place in history is not at stake. He'll always be known as the Gypsy King, one of the great heavyweights we've had, and of course the story of coming back from where he was, which I still think is one of the great ones ever, and that performance against Deontay Wilder second time around in Vegas, one of the great performances I've seen. Any British heavyweight, any British fighter really, away from home. So his resume is there, his place in the Hall of Fame as it should. But I think that in terms of real legacy in history, I think he needs to win this fight. And can he win it? That's the big question. It was close last time, but Usyk won it fairly. And the trouble is he's not going back in with Wilder. He's going back in with Usyk, who is an incredible fighter and a professional through and through, who's in tremendous condition already, and is just a box of tricks and knows his way around the ring, maybe more beautifully than almost anyone of our generation, bar possibly his mate Loma or Floyd Mayweather. He's, for his size at least, he's just so light on his feet, and he can work out bold puzzles. He can work the jigsaws out. So he also knows he hurt Tyson in that first fight. So yeah, the advantages I think still do lie with Usyk, but there's no doubt that if Tyson can get it right, he could come out as exacting a revenge. Which it was great to see how serious he was. Usyk too, bit of fun with the outfit, Hitman outfit, with the which I knew was going to happen, which was quite funny. I didn't know what was in the briefcase, but yeah, it was good, and it's great that they're going to raise funds for the Ukrainian soldiers with that picture. Usyk is a tremendous individual, a wonderful man and an athlete. And Tyson told me that afterwards. He was saying he's great and he really respects Oleksandr. It was really good to see. There was no nonsense. And yes, Deb had a tough job out there. There was a few syllables and not much spoken. I actually thought Eddie Hearn spoke very well, having not really being involved in the whole project this time, or certainly not having a stake in either fighter. I thought he spoke really well, absolutely nailed it, and to see both Oleksandr and Tyson applauding Eddie Hearn after his speech was quite something. So yeah, look, it was great. It was a big media turnout. It was the big fight feel. It's a serious fight. It's the fight we've all been waiting for since May. And I think it's going to be another great one. And it was interesting talking to the likes of Sugar Hill and the others around it to see what the tactics might be. Try and ascertain a little bit more maybe than they'll let on, which is always fun. And then seeing Johnny Fisher and Tina McGrail and Lee McGregor and all the guys and going to be on the card. It's just brilliant. They're loving it. So it was a fantastic occasion.
You mentioned there Tyson Fury will be going in as an underdog, a tag that he's not really fielded too much during his career. Possibly going into the Klitschko fight was one of the only times that I can recall. How do you think going in as an underdog and going in off a loss will change the mentality for Tyson Fury?
He's a fighting man, as he always tells us. And it's another fight, and he's out there to entertain, and then he goes back to his family at the end of it. But I know Tyson, and I know that he understands boxing history. He loves boxing, and I do think that he will really rise to the challenge this time. Whether he'll be good enough, whether the legs are still as fine as they once were, and that's something I asked Sugar Hill. He said they are. But you only know under the lights, all the sparring, which will be difficult getting sparring partners to fit Usyk and vice versa. Usyk is on his ready to fight app, trying to find big sparring partners to emulate Tyson Fury. Of course, both are almost impossible to mimic, aren't they? So that's going to be hard. Preparation is crucial. But I think Tyson's going to have that extra bit between his teeth. I think he's going to be that bit more focused this time. We know Usyk's schedule. I get up at 5:30, I train, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It's repeat. And Tyson's going to have to do this. He's going to have to do everything he can in the next 8.5 weeks. We know that Usyk, being a consummate professional, is never out of shape. And we know Tyson likes to live life a little bit, which makes him the fun character that he is, of course. It makes him a bit more normal, a bit more real and associated with. But he needs to really work very hard. And he's got the right people with him. I'm glad he's still with Sugar Hill and Andy Lee. He hasn't just got rid of them. He's gone back in with the guys, although they got criticism for the corner and the voices last time. He's gone back in with the right people. Sugar Hill was with Emmanuel Stewart for many years. He knows that way, the Kronk way. That's why I think we'll have an aggressive Tyson Fury this time. I think we'll have a strong Tyson Fury behind that jab in the first couple of rounds. He won't do what he did last time. But will Usyk do what he did? Because Usyk was so clever in those first 3 or 4 minutes, really clever to just pin him into corners. And Tyson has played up to it. Maybe he thought he could just stop him whenever he wanted. I think it's going to be a very different fight. I think he's going to try and be aggressive. But there lies a problem, because if he hasn't got rid of Usyk by 6-7 rounds, we know who the fitter guy is down the stretch, I'm sure. And it will be very interesting to see if he can pin that footwork, because no one's done it yet. 350 amateur fights, only 15 defeats, pretty much all of those controversial. And he's never lost in 22 fights as a pro. The undisputed cruiserweight champion. And a heavyweight, he hasn't just beaten Fury. He's beaten everybody. Joshua twice, Chisora, Dubois. When I asked Tony Bellew how good Oleksandr Usyk is, and he'll have you sat there all afternoon. The guy is a phenomenon. He's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He's proved it. He's also one of the nicest guys and the most humble guys you'll meet. And I think maybe that's why the world probably know Fury and Joshua more than Usyk, because he is quiet and he gets about his business, and he does his press when he needs to, but ultimately he's a family man. And he's obviously ingrained in Ukraine and the difficulties that his country's having. And he's an incredible figurehead, an ambassador for the Ukraine, a little bit like Vitaly Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev. And it's a pleasure to work with Usyk, and he's a great guy. But I have so much respect for Tyson as well, the way he's come back, the way he's dealt with his life. We saw Liam Cameron the other night, and after what he's gone through just to be in a ring and to do so well against Ben Whittaker. And I just have so much respect for people that have done that, fighters especially, that have had hard times and they've come back and they've proved what they really are all about. And Tyson Fury's got nothing left to prove to me, win or lose on December the 21st. But I think he's got something to prove to himself. And I think that's the key with us.
Well, where we're still 8 weeks away from that fight, but as you look at it now, do you think the scales balance in favour of Usyk? And if you were to be making predictions, is Usyk the way you would weigh at the moment?
I think so, probably, but just razor thin. I thought Dmitry Bivol would beat Artur Beterbiev. Having watched the fight, I think he did. But some people I was speaking to yesterday thought Beterbiev big. So it's what you like in boxing. When you get the two best fighting each other, or the elite, it's always going to be very, very close. Look at Barrera Morales; they had three. Look at Ali Frazier. Look at Bo Holyfield, and Mayweather Pacquiao would have had three if it had happened earlier than it did. Of course, it happened too late. Same with Khan and Brook. I think some fighters are just there, and there's a bit of me that thinks maybe Fury will get the decision this time, and they do a third fight, but it doesn't work like that. You go on what you think and what you believe. And yeah, it points to another Usyk victory on points, probably, maybe even by stoppage. But I wouldn't write out a Tyson Fury stoppage, or especially if you can target that Usyk body. But Usyk's body shots were really good against Fury. So it's a very, very tight one to call, Josh. But I think you've got to lean to Usyk after the fact that he won the first one. And he keeps himself in such tremendous shape, year round. He hasn't had as many fights as Fury. Is Fury quite the fighter since the whole Wilder trilogy? I think there's more questions about Tyson than there are about Usyk. And that's why, at the moment, I'll be leaning towards Usyk. But razor thinness, it's a fight we just want to see, isn't it? It's a great heavyweight battle. And on the back of Dubois' victory over Joshua, the heavyweight scene is so alive and well. Johnny Fisher's bringing the Bosch army over. Moses Atama's on the card, and he's a really great young fighter. So, really exciting times. We haven't even mentioned Joe Parker and Martin Bakoli and Jalai Zhang and all of the rest of them. So it's going to be very exciting. 2025, will AJ go back in with Dubois? And I know Daniel's just putting the sort of final touches either on that or something else. So there's going to be an announcement, I know, soon with Daniel. So, he had his rest in Brazil, and rightly so. And AJ, I'm sure, wants to go straight back into the fire with him, because that's the sort of fighter he is. We've got to enjoy these fighters while they're here. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, they haven't fought each other because they don't want to fight each other. They haven't fought each other because of boxing politics, Josh. Those two have wanted to fight each other 2-3 times. Let's hope we get it. What I do know is that I love these fighters, and I love the fact that they've given us so much entertainment for so many years. And let's enjoy the final parts of the journey. It's the sunset, isn't it, for AJ and Fury and Usyk and Wilder and all of those guys. And we're going to have a new generation come, certainly 2026. So let's enjoy the next 14 months and see where they all end up in the history books. But they'll all be there and thereabouts.
There has been some speculation regarding the rematch between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois that is now sort of a little bit off the table. Frank Warren suggesting that isn't the fight that Anthony Joshua will want to take next. From your view, is that the fight that you can see happening? And if not, what are the options on the table?
Yeah, I said to Freddie and AJ, I've reached out to them and said, look, if you want my advice, I'll give it to you. I'm sure they don't. They'll make their own decision. I think Josh will want the rematch. That's the sort of guy he is. He'll want to go back into the fire. Do I think it's the fight I want to see next? No. I think that he should wait to see what happens with Usyk and Fury. Because Fury-Joshua is still the big fight that everybody wants to see, despite what happened at Wembley. And I think it's a big risk going back in with Daniel Dubois. Some people think AJ can turn the tables and beat Dubois. Maybe he can. But the sight of him at Wembley was not good. And you go off your last fight. And I just think that, for me, I would either think AJ waits and possibly fights Fury in 2025 before a Dubois rematch, or even somebody else. But also, what are they going to do with Daniel? Do they want Daniel to fight AJ again, or do they want to defend his title against somebody else? There's so many heavyweights we've already mentioned that are out there. And Daniel can fight all of them. We know Joe Joyce and Tony Yoka are going at it. There's lots. Chisora still knocking around. There's loads of fights. Baby Miller going to fight Chisora. Lots of heavyweight names in the pot. So I think we just have to wait and see what the fighters want to do. Um, do the public want to see Dubois and Joshua straight away again? Maybe, but it was very one-sided. So maybe it is worth a wait. He's gone straight back into Andy Ruiz before. He went back in with Usyk. Yeah, Lennox Lewis took 3 years to go back in with Oliver Paul first time around. They took their time rebuilding. Josh doesn't have that time probably at this stage of his career, and he only wants the big fight. And as Eddie thinks, he's probably got 2 or 3 left. I'm seeing Eddie tomorrow, so I'll have a word and see what he thinks. But my feeling is that AJ should do what he wants to do. It's his career. If he wants to go back into the fire with Dubois, then if they can make that fight next, then we've got that fight for February or March. But if he doesn't, or if Dubois wants something different, I wouldn't mind. Because I don't want to see AJ get knocked out twice in a row like that, because I think that would be the end. I think it'd be very hard to come back after that. But if he really feels he can beat Dubois, as most people thought beforehand, thought Joshua by knockout, maybe he just fights a different fight next time round, or is it that Dubois got his number? It's a very interesting question about what AJ should do next, and I guess it's all up to him and up to Turkey and Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn to work out the best possible path. Ultimately, Turkey will want a fight, and it's that fight that he wants. And my gut still is that he wants AJ Fury. So if I was telling AJ anything, I would say, relax. Don't make any hasty decisions. See how Usyk and Fury pans out. Maybe let Dubois get on with another fight. Just sit on it a little bit. Does it have to be rushed? I know what he's like. He'll be back in the gym training for Dubois. So, you can't tell these fighters, can you? We'll have to see what happens. Fascinating, though.
Just going back to yesterday and the undercard of Fury Usyk, there has been a little bit of criticism regarding the undercard, but there are a couple of 50-50 fights on there, a couple of prospects, I guess you could just about still call them in the cases of Moses Talma and Johnny Fisher, but the odds are heavily weighted in their favour against Dempsey McKean and Dave Allen. How do you view the undercard?
Why do we all have a moan in boxing? Why do we all have to get on the backs of cards? It's a really good night's boxing, and it's another good card. I saw Peter McGrail absolutely going for it with Dennis McCann. I saw Lee McGregor and Isaac Lowe shouting at each other off the stage. There's lots of spice. There's lots of needle. Johnny Fisher is who he is. He says he's what did he say? He said it's like a rainy away day at Stoke. He's no Man City, Liverpool. I should say Liverpool first, though, shouldn't I? He's no Liverpool or Man City or Arsenal. He's a rainy day at Stoke, and he's a hard night's work for anyone. And he just thinks he might get to British title level. But look, he's loving it. Got the Bosch army going over. I think they want to take over a plane. That'll be fantastic. Moses Talma, I think, is a terrific fighter. And you've got some really good fights on that card. So I don't think we should complain. I mean, if you think about it, a year and a half ago, if we got this sort of card, we'd all be going, wow. But you're comparing it to every single Riyadh season card, and it's difficult. I think with Bivol Batebiev, there was a very, very strong card because the main event, as good as it was, the fight that all the trade wanted to see, wasn't really known to the casuals. So you got Chris Eubank on and Ben Whitaker and some of the others because you had to appeal to the casual audience as well as the hardcore boxing who wanted to see Bivol Batebiev. The only reason people are tuning in on December the 21st is to see Usyk and Fury. Let's be honest, 95% of people, maybe even 98%. It's just the families and friends of the others. But it is a good card. It's packed with good fighters and fights that sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. And at GBM, we've got a show we're announcing on December the 7th, a couple of weeks before the one in Riyadh. And yeah, not at the same level, but we're going to have a really tight, competitive card where you don't know who's going to win all the time. But obviously, we're going to have to look after our prospects too. So you can't have everything. Let's enjoy it. It's 4 days before Christmas. It's a pre-Christmas cracker. We're going to get the two elite heavyweights, okay, with AJ and Dubois to one side. We've just seen them fighting it out again. We had a humdinger in May. I think we might get an even better fight. And rematches don't often produce a better one. I think this might do, December 21st. We've got a great card. Let's see how Moses Talma gets on. Johnny Fisher, yeah, they're heavy favourites. They're still going to go and win the fights. And they've got to do it under the guise of Turkey Al-Sheikh will be watching and waiting to see what 2025 is going to bring us. So those heavyweights and the other fighters they've got this golden opportunity. Isaac Lowe saying he's had so many opportunities on these big cards. It's up to him. Yes, he wants his big mate Fury to win, but it's not about Fury on that week. It's about Isaac Lowe. And that's what I love to see about fighters. Yeah, they're trying to do the best for themselves. They're going to get good money. They're going to get a great golden chance on a massive stage. And I think we should all get behind it. We're all going to be tuning in or being there, let's be honest. So let's get off the criticism of these cards. Riyadh season is bringing us something we haven't seen in a long time in boxing, putting all the promoters together, working with all the best fighters and putting on the best shows. Let's give them plenty of credit.
Adam, really appreciate the time this morning. Always good to get your insight, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Always a pleasure, Josh. Have a lovely few days. See you soon.